Hello everyone and welcome back to JB's Total Gaming, where today we're taking a look at Pathfinder Adventures, a free-to-play iOS implementation of the Pathfinder Adventure card game. If you want to know my opinion about that game, if I remember, I'll put a link in the video to a review that my son Ian and I did about the game. It's probably the game I have the most mixed feelings of any game I've ever looked at, where the concept is really interesting of having permanent characters that upgrade by collecting better and better cards as they go, but the implementation I was a little bit iffy on, where you'd have issues where you might come across a creature that you just couldn't deal with or roll poorly and take huge damage, and you can't mitigate it the way you can in a role-playing game, and I just felt very torn about it. So how do I feel about the app? Well, first of all, this is a free-to-play thing initially, which is kind of cool. However, let's talk about some issues with it. First of all, when you load up, there are ways that you can get in-game currency in order to get stuff, and if we look at the store, we'll take a look at some of these things. The game will say you need to be logged on. Chances are what happened is, for some reason, this game disconnects you from Game Center. So if you're having that issue saying to log on, and you click on the button to log on and nothing happens, go ahead and exit out of the game, go into Game Center, make sure you're logged into Game Center, and then go back into the game, and that should resolve the issue, and it should say you are online. So another issue that the game has is sometimes it randomly disconnects you while you're playing, and then you don't get the gold reward for completing whatever you're doing. Now, I've gone through the first two quests in the tutorial. I do think it dropped me out of one of them at one point while I was playing, and I didn't get the gold reward, which is kind of annoying. But if we look at some of the things here, so we can get more adventurers. You start the game with two characters. Click on the wrong button there, and then you can buy characters individually. You see, one character is going to cost me 1,500. I only have 261 so far, and there are a lot of characters. Just like the base game, you can get the character add-on deck that adds 4 more characters for 10,000, so there is a lot there. There are adventures that are out right now. The game comes with the initial kind of 3 quests, but then you can get a few more for some gold, and then you can obviously get gold by paying money. And you can also get more adventures as they come out. The game also has an option where you can get basically everything for $25. So instead of going in and purchasing gold, so we'll take a look at that here, and you can do a thing where you can get daily gold. It's kind of a small price, and I'm not sure if it's the 30 days that you log in you'll get that gold, or you'll get gold for 30 days, and if you don't log in for any of those 30 days you won't get that gold and miss that opportunity. It's not really clearly worded, I'm not sure. Or you can just buy straight up gold. It is kind of expensive, $20 for 20,000, and the character pack is 10,000. So they definitely are trying to get you to buy just the entire game and all the stuff that'll come out for it later for $25. That is a little pricey for an app, and if you don't want to spend that $25, then you have the traditional free-to-play sort of things that these games have, where you're getting very small rewards, but really they want you to spend money to get more gold, to get more characters. Which brings me to another issue. The 2 characters that you start the game with, if I go back into kind of the main quest area here, we'll go to continue the story. There is a character who is a rogue who functions really, really well by herself. So let's go ahead. Yeah, this looks like it's all set up, and we'll go into it. So you play the game much like the card game, if you're familiar with it, where you go through these different quests. You have to defeat, and then there is a little bit of a story you can go through. There's not really much to this here, but you can see a little dialogue and whatever before each quest, and maybe a little bit as you defeat a villain. And then you want to defeat the villain, but if there's open areas, then they'll move, and then you got to close other areas and eventually defeat the villain in the last possible place, just like the card game. And then there are rules for this quest, and then here's the villain we have to fight. The game functions very much like the actual card game itself. It pretty much one-for-one representation, and overall I feel like it's pretty well done. There is a tutorial. It tells you quite a bit if you're not familiar how to play the game. Probably not everything you need to know. You might want to watch a video on everything, and you definitely want to pay attention to all your characters' powers and things that you can activate, but overall things aren't too bad. But one thing I'm going to point out here is this character that's a rogue. So let's look at a place that is maybe good for her to go, a place maybe with a lot of monsters. I don't know, how about we just go over here? I'm not really looking at trying to play the game as efficiently as possible, just trying to give you an example of how to play. And this might be a good place for a healer. But these 2 characters, the rogue, functions really well by herself. She has an ability where she can put a card back into her deck that she can draw later in order to add to a combat if she's by herself, while the healer can heal other people at her location. So I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but it does seem odd that the two starting characters they give you don't actually work well together. Now, you can play the game with only one character, and then obviously you can unlock characters and play with more of them, but I did find it kind of an odd and interesting choice that those are your options. Also, another thing to point out, you saw on the main screen that there was kind of the story mode and then kind of like a quest mode, and that quest mode is kind of designed so that you can go on adventures over and over and have some generated stuff and redo that. Another issue I'm going to point out with the game, that doesn't work right now. It works for some people apparently. I went online and they said, well, if you only go with like 1 to 3 players, it should work. Well, I only have 2 characters unlocked. I've tried with 1, tried with 2. I can't get on it right now. However, they are aware of the issue and they are trying to fix it. So just one more little thing. So here we go. You can see things are highlighted to do a pretty good job. If I can use one of my character abilities down in the bottom right, it is going to be highlighted. If another character has an ability that can help me, there'll be a little explanation point there. And then basically I can move places or whatever. But here I'm going to just draw a card, and then we have a cultist that is going to have a combat value of 9. So at this point, I can play cards. Now you notice the explanation point I was talking about here. I can go to this other character, and this character is going to have a blessing or a guidance that I would be able to try and do. So what the heck? We'll just do this for fun to add the +1, and then she will likely be able to actually get that card back. And because I don't have any weapons or anything right now, I'm not really sure this combat is going to go well, so I'm actually going to play a blessing as well. Overall, like I said, the tutorial doesn't necessarily teach you everything, but it does give you a pretty good idea of what's going on. We'll roll the dice and get the results. Alright, so yeah, we definitely had enough to defeat that character. And like I said, I'm not necessarily trying to play really efficiently, just to show you here. And then you have the option. So you played this card. It does have an ability where you might be able to recharge it and put it back into your deck instead of losing it. So we're actually going to automatically succeed at this, which is nice. And overall, I'd say the implementation of the card game itself is pretty well done. And then here we have the option, because you can discard a card to continue questing, a blessing card, and you see it's highlighted in blue. So we have the option of ending the turn, the right button on the right, or discarding that card to continue questing. And we're going to save that for now and just move on to our other character and encounter a card. And we're not really going to get too far into the game, I just kind of want to show you. You also see up in the top kind of middle, you see that number 28 in the circle showing how many cards there are left in the blessing deck, basically how many rounds you have. And the information for the location is over there on the left, below, kind of showing you what cards are going to be in there, and everything you need to know about how to closing it or whatnot. So overall, I have to say the implementation of the game itself is pretty well done. So here we have a glaive that we can try to acquire, and really we don't really have we have 0 chance of acquiring this unless we play another card, but I really don't want to do that. I'm not necessarily super excited about this one. It wouldn't necessarily be bad. This is kind of a strength character, although they are not proficient in weapons, so we could try to use our blessing to get it, but you know what, I'm not going to use that for now. We're just going to let it pass. Really what I want to do is kind of show off what the game looks like. Overall, I'd say the art style as well. The cards in the game are represented well. I feel like the drawings and things in the background are well done, and the information is presented pretty well. Maybe you don't learn everything you need in the tutorial, but overall things are highlighted when you need them, and the text that you need, information as to what is going on, is there, and that's pretty solid. My issues with the game are not with the gameplay itself, but with the free-to-play stuff that goes on in free-to-play games. This is a free-to-play game with all those traps, where you can try to play it a lot to get things, but it's going to be frustrating and slow, or you can just spend money. They obviously want you to spend the $25. If this had been like a $10 or $15 app for everything, I feel like that would have made more sense. Even at the $15 price point, I feel like that would have been pretty fair. At $25, that's kind of tricky. I mean, at this point, you're basically talking a fairly large, maybe indie computer game or something like that. And this does have a lot to it, but it's going to be up to you if you think it's going to be worth that. I will point out you may want to wait until some of these things are updated, that you can play through that quest mode without any issues, and actually, because right now whenever I try to get onto it, it just freezes and won't let me in. But if you really like the game, then if you think $25 is worth it, then this is kind of nice, because you don't have to use all of the let's go ahead and play a blessing. I still don't have a weapon. Let's see here, do we think we're going to get 10? I don't know. Just for, I think we're going to throw another blessing in, just to be sure. And we should definitely be able to beat this. But There we go. I will say, though, if you really like the game and you think $25 is worth it, so you don't have to take the time to set up the cards and do all of that, then this may be worth it. It may not overall be worth that price for you, though, if you're like me and kind of iffy about the game. And if you want to try it out, I suggest go ahead and try it out. You can try it for free and see how much you like it, and then if you decide you want to invest that money. Overall, it's one of those things where, for me, I didn't enjoy the base game enough that I probably am not going to do that, and the free-to-play stuff is so slow, especially with the quest mode not working right now, that I'm not sure how much I'm going to keep up with this. But if you did enjoy the base game, which is something I can definitely see people enjoying, I don't think that's a inherently wrong thing. There's definitely enjoyment to be had, and that price point is worth it. Then overall, I'd say the implementation could be pretty good once those bugs and issues get fixed. So there you go. There's my look at Pathfinder Adventure card game. Overall, pretty solid implementation. Really don't like the business model. Very much don't like the business model. But if you enjoyed the game enough, the $25 is a good price in order to, not have to set up the game and go through all that. Or if you try it out for free, if you haven't played the game and you like it enough, then that's definitely what they're trying to get you to go for, so that you can get everything for that price. All right, so thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we will talk to you again soon.